I promised you earlier some inspiring speakers, and our next speaker, possibly the briefest ever keynote speech in history, is going to be delivered by a woman who is known to all of us, whether you knew her as Lil in The Sullivans like I did, or got knocked up young, tragic story, or whether you grew up with her on Play School, whether you saw her on Q&A, whether you knew her as an activist, as a worker for change, as an actor, or in her most recent incarnation as a bit of a potty mouth with her YouTube recording of I think it's Go the Flock to Sleep. I couldn't tell because it was beeped out every time I tried to watch it. I was on one of those nanny channels. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker to the stage, Noni Hazlehurst.
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm thrilled. Well, make no mistake, this is a war that we are fighting, and it is on many fronts. When Cate Blanchett recently appeared in a pro-carbon tax ad on television, she was widely vilified, even though all she said was, "At least we'll be doing something." Michael Caton was in it too, but he's a bloke who wears check shirts, so he didn't come in for nearly as much attention. According to the Courier Mail, the opposition leader used parliamentary procedure to suspend question time to attack the government for being elitist, even though the ad was apparently funded by union and conservationist groups. He was quoted as saying, and I'm tempted to do an impression, but I won't. No, I won't. This is a PM who is happy to listen to actors, but she won't listen to voters. She wants to say yes to celebrities, but she won't say yes to the people of Australia. You do not give special weight to celebrities, to people who live half the year in Hollywood. Hard to run a state theatre company and be the mother to 3 small boys, if that were true. Where there is no carbon tax, an emissions trading scheme comes into effect in California next year. You give weight to the voice of the Australian people. So in a nutshell, Cate was defined as a non-voter and not a person of Australia. And Barnaby Joyce weighed in too with, "We love Cate, but this has got nothing to do with acting." Well, I think she'd worked that out. She was described as, in one media outlet, as just an actor, and I can't remember who wrote that, but I suspect it was just a columnist. And possibly just a man. I want to look at the big picture. This is obviously about growing vegetables and switching off lights, but it's about more than that. It's about switching on the light, the dawning light that has been flickering, if not almost extinguished, for centuries. The light is the power generated by women. If we can grasp it and step up and commit to being unafraid, of course we will change the world. We only have to look at the extraordinary stories of the 3 women who were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize this year. If you don't know what they did, check it out. It's awesome. But we are fighting the boys, not the men. Most men get it, but most men aren't men. The boys don't get it. A frighteningly large proportion of the male of the species, those that dominate much of the political debate, who run many of the companies, who hold most positions of power, are boys, not men. And consequently, we are often forced or expected to be girls, not women. We all have to wake up and be adults and insist on adult behaviour from those around us. Alert, present, engaged, not hiding behind egomaniacal facades. I'm over it. The ubiquitous masculine-dominated mainstream media treat us like children, feeding us largely asinine, irrelevant, trivial pap designed to do nothing more than lull us to sleep. Ads mostly feature people behaving childishly and treat the viewer as if they are 6 years old and stupid to boot. And the news? Well, if it bleeds, it leads. The world we live in is presented in a completely unbalanced way. Almost exclusively, the coverage is about violence, corruption, greed, childish divisiveness, doom and gloom. Imagine if you were from another planet and you switched on commercial free-to-air television to try and get a feel for the populace's intelligence level and interests. There is so little to inspire and nourish us, to feed our minds, our hearts and our spirits. We've got to stop focusing on our differences, stop the partisanship, and recognise and celebrate the similarities that we share. The planet and our lives depend on it. The economists and financial boffins want us to stimulate the economy by buying more. The poor retailers struggling to pay the exorbitant costs associated with renting space in these appalling monuments to mindless consumerism, the shopping malls, are dropping like flies, waiting for the mythical consumer confidence to come back. But I think they don't get it. They don't get the paradigm shift. I don't think most people want more stuff. Most of us have enough stuff. Most of us have worked out, and it's not rocket science, that the more stuff you have, the bigger space you need to put it in, and the more you have to work to pay for the big space and the stuff, and the insurance and the upkeep of the stuff, and the less you have a life or a planet. There are lots of small things we can all do to help slow down climate change, but what is required is a total change in the way we think and function. We've got to move from the age of consumerism to the age of creativity, from partisanship to fellowship, from product placement to concept placement. And women are the only ones who can do it. As Natalie said, we do most of the cooking, most of the cleaning, most of the child and family care, we control the remote, we make most of the major purchasing decisions, most ads are geared to us, most of what's for sale in the shops is as well. So it is entirely up to us to make it clear that we want things done differently. And this is where the war comes in. For young girls, your enemy is popular culture. There are two prevailing images that confront you every single day. One is the girl in very high shoes who can't walk, who has her toes turned in and her shoulders shrugged and her eyes wide. The other one is the overtly sexual, pornified girl. TV shows constantly feature girls being bitchy, girls with eating disorders, girls behaving badly. And this is influencing children from the age of 3 who often watch this stuff and hear this stuff without any adult to protect them. Many girls are convinced they can't compete. They're not pretty or thin enough. So all you wonderful young women here, you have a big job to do, convincing girls younger than you that there are other options, that they are just as interesting and worthy if they're interested in something other than fashion, that there are plenty of great people out there doing amazing things in the community if you just know where to look, and here's a very good place. Now, as an older woman, I'm 58, and a woman in an industry dominated by boys who prioritise youth and looks, I'm well aware of the place we're supposed to hold in the community. We're expected to fade into the background at a certain age. To many of you, I'm now the nana generation, but believe me, baby boomer nanas are a different breed. We will not fit the cliches because we fought long and hard, so younger women could have choices, so that you weren't hobbled by society's expectations, not to mention ridiculous shoes. And we got somewhere. And one of the wonderful things about getting older is you stop being afraid of speaking out, of what people think, clearly. You stop being fooled, and it's so much easier to pick the genuinely good people from the pretenders. So one by one, we need to speak up, to find kindred spirits, to talk to our sons, and I do, and brothers and boyfriends and husbands and fathers, to challenge them, to demand with respect that we be heard. And don't ever think that one woman can't make a difference. If enough individuals say and do the same thing, they become a crowd. No one is special, but everyone is unique. And we all deserve to be respected and recognised for our strengths and weaknesses, our mistakes and our triumphs, our pain and our joy. Women do get it. We will do it. And if enough boys become men, we might grant them equality one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Noni. And I'm delighted to note that we clearly have some men in the audience today, not boys, because they didn't flinch at all during that. So, yeah, they totally get it. As you know, 1 Million Women is not an anti-men movement. It's a movement for change for women to act on. So, but I'm totally with you, 100%.